The heart of Prajnaparamita Sutra. When Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara was practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, he illuminated the five skandhas and saw that they are all empty, and he crossed beyond all suffering and difficulty. Interpretation. What should we practice during cultivation? We should understand that the cultivation must lead to liberation and back to the original mind. This is foundational and otherwise is wrong. For example, when looking at a mirage from a distance, we see a city or a village or an ocean. Everything is there, alive and lively when looking far away. However, if one were to walk to the edge of the mirage or look inside, they will find nothing. Nothing exists at all. However, we don't think the images in the mirage are illusory when looking far away. We believe that everything within the mirage, including the ships and high buildings, are real. What is the most important aspect of our cultivation? It is primarily to recognize that what we are seeing is solely a mirage and is not real. After removing ourselves from it, we are aware that the mirage still exists, but we can clearly see that it is simply an illusion. This is called illumination, or contemplation. All the things in our world appear real from the human perspective, including our daily lives, careers, relationships, businesses, and death. However, from the perspective of the true self, all of these things are part of a mirage and are therefore an illusion. It is very difficult to remove oneself from the illusory environment and see the falseness of it. Almost nobody can do it. Therefore, we find comfort and happiness in the mirage, consuming delicious food and drinks, experiencing happiness or unhappiness, as well as everything else we do. At the time of death, the four elements of human beings will disperse, and nothing will be left. Then one will enter the next circle of samsara. Next circle of samsara is still a journey of dreams. We are still in a mirage and are not able to remove ourselves from it. We think highly of ourselves. For example, the past emperors built extraordinary empires, which were great. However, they didn't realize that the great empire is part of the mirage, just like soap bubbles. And when the time is up, it will burst and nothing will be left. So the essential characteristics of Buddha Dharma is here to help us break the illusion and return to our true selves. This is the ultimate function of Buddha Dharma. What is this called? This is called liberation, enlightenment. This is the only purpose Buddha came to this world. But why are there so many different schools, questions, procedures, and forms? Because we cannot wake up simply by a call. The Buddha has to apply many kinds of methods to raise us gradually from our dreams. He helps to release us from our confines of the mirage and to free ourselves from its influence little by little. Once we are removed from the mirage, we will realize that it was all an illusion to begin with. When we finally see that it was all fake, we are certain to seek the truth. That is the function of the Dharma. Given that we practice without full awareness of the truth, we will follow others to do whatever they do, such as meditating, reciting sutras, or releasing creatures back to nature. We believe that this is the proper way to practice, but we are completely wrong. There was once a patriarch who grinded a brick against the ground near someone practicing meditation. When the patriarch was asked what the purpose of his action was, his response was that he intended to create a mirror. In the past, mirrors were made with bronze. People grinded round bronze plates into mirrors to see their reflections. But is it possible to make a brick into a mirror by grinding? Of course not. Practice and meditation alone do not remove you from the world of illusion and mirage. And it is meaningless if there is no intention of renunciation and leaving the circumstance. Many people seem to research the Dharma, meditate, or do good deeds. However, what they get in the end is simply another mirage. There is nothing beyond but another illusion or some pictures of practices or doing good deeds within the mirage. When the mirage changes and the illusion decays, all the good deeds and practices disappear as well. As we enter the following stage of the mirage, we are once again in the circle of 6 realms and within birth and death cycles, which is meaningless. Therefore, we must practice for achieving relief, which is highly advocated by the Buddha and all patriarchs.
In the past, the Chan school notably advocated sudden enlightenment. What is sudden enlightenment? If we can get out of a mirage, it is called sudden enlightenment. At a glance, we immediately know that this is not real, and we are certain that our hearts are authentic. It's like being in a dark room for so long that you yearn for the light. What should I do? I will wipe off the dirt on the window and let the sunshine come through. We have been in the dark for far too long, so when, for the first time in hundreds of millions of years, I'd suddenly see a hint of light, I will be ecstatic. Why? Because it is completely different from the past. This is called enlightenment. In this illusory mirage, all of a sudden, we see through it and we spot the reality. And we will never forget it, because that is our fundamental origin, something rooted deeply inside of us. Once we understand this and have taken it to heart, we will keep practicing. We are able to wipe the dirt away from the windows and expand the streak where the sun shines through until the illusion is completely transformed. When we are united with brightness and the original, mentally and physically, we become a Buddha. The original virtues and abilities of self-nature have always been sufficient. The Buddhist scriptures tell us that the original wisdom is not something we acquire afterwards. It is something built in us. At this point, we have no control over our wisdom. We are blindfolded by our discrimination and attachment to the extent that we are not able to benefit from our own wisdom. 6 roots, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, are only partially expressing our original mind. In most cases, we are wrongfully defining ourselves by these functions. Just like a mirage, from a distance, it can also perform many functions. For example, ships and the sea are moving. Is it actually there? No, it is fictitious, just a projection of the original nature. 6 roots and 6 objects of sense, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, objects of touch, and dharmas, are also just projections of our mind, the inherent and fundamental power. We eat, live, and work. In fact, everything we do is a projection of part of our true self. Once we see the reality of this world and clearly understand that it is all illusory, we will regain focus on our original mind and the illusion will disappear. Just like when we walk towards the mirage, the ships, the sea, and all other projections are gone. Do we still need to reveal the illusion of these ships and the sea? No, because they've never existed. By then, we have everything that we have been granted, and we can make use of them naturally. This is why Buddha Dharma taught us that wisdom is something that is neither cultivated nor attained, but is something that is naturally complete. Wisdom is not cultivated through practice, because a practiced and cultivated wisdom invites human error, as we attempt to research and derive meaning. Imagine if Buddha were to take an entire carriage of books with him while teaching the Dharma, and he would thoroughly study all the books before answering a question. Then he would be a scholar, and he would not have been a Buddha yet. So, what is Buddha? The true nature of Buddha encompasses all and is self-sufficient. Through the illumination of true nature, any misunderstandings are made to be understood, and anything unclear is made to be clear. All worldly manifestations are projections of the heart, which cannot be separated from true nature. Not a single doubt would arise when true nature shines through and illuminates everything. The human wonders and questions such as, where does this projection come from? What are illusions formed of? And what do we do to get out of those dreamlands and mirage illusions? Will be clearly answered. Once we cease existing in the land of mirage, understanding and enlightenment naturally follows. This simple and easy truth is echoed through the Heart Sutra.
Sutra. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself is form. So too are feeling, cognition, formation, and consciousness. Interpretation. Why do we compare the tangible form with the intangible emptiness? Simply because we cannot see the true nature clearly yet. To help us understand, the comparison between the emptiness of true nature and the illusions of the outside world is an easier approach. While we stare into a mirage, we cannot see anything. As an example, the mirage showing ships and waves would serve as the form. It's a kind of material phenomenon. But does it exist? No, there is no such thing. What difference to emptiness is it then? It's empty as always. Then why do we bother to differentiate emptiness and form, or anything to nothing? There's nothing at all, just a projection. All the concepts mentioned above are non-existent. In this society, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are the projection of true nature. Once we recognize that these are illusions and can separate ourselves from them, we can then recognize the mirages as they really are. As we gradually and timidly approach the mirage, we realize nothing truly existed in the first place. Then do our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind exist? No, they are non-existent too, just like emptiness. That is what it means. Sutra. Shariputra, all dharmas are empty of characteristics. They are not produced, not destroyed, not defiled, not pure, and they neither increase nor diminish. Interpretation. We always feel fluctuations in our daily lives. For example, sometimes we make more money, sometimes less. Sometimes we are heartbroken as the money we earned has been cheated from us. All these are manifested in the mirage. We can see clearly from the outside that it is a mirage. Once inside the mirage, there is nothing. No increase or decrease, no clean or unclean, no birth and death, no anything. All changes are illusory, fake. Sutra. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, feeling, cognition, formation, or consciousness. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. No sights, sounds, smells, tastes, objects of touch, or dharmas. No field of the eyes, up to and including no field of mind consciousness and no ignorance or ending of ignorance, up to and including no old age and death or ending of old age and death. There is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, and no way, no understanding, and no attaining. Interpretation. We know that living in this world is painful, and we need to cultivate ourselves. We start with 6 consciousnesses, such as eye consciousness and ear consciousness. However, all of these are also illusory. Every day we meditate, chant sutras, recite the Buddha's name, or do something similar. But who is doing them? Our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are doing them. We are still in an illusory environment, practicing with illusory forms, and all the things done are still in the mirage. So if you just practice these without getting out of the mirage, it's not right. Why? Because when one walks from outside the mirage to the inside of it, they will realize that there is nothing but emptiness. In other words, everything that our world is made of isn't truly there. Everything is empty and illusory. It was never there in the beginning, so what do we practice for? What are we repeatedly wrestling with? What is being cultivated? What can be realized?
Because nothing is attained, the Bodhisattva, through reliance on prajna paramita, is unimpeded in his mind. Because there is no impediment, he is not afraid, and he leaves distorted dream thinking far behind, ultimately nirvana. Once we understand that this world is just a mirage and naturally empty, there will be no impediment in our mind. What does this mean? Our minds will never be puzzled by the outside world, since we know it is entirely empty, illusory, and non-existent. Once we think there's something outside, what should we do? Just walk towards it and take a look. The mirage, seen from far away, has mountains, water, and ships, but is completely empty when observed closely. It is just the state of original self-nature, thoroughly empty. Therefore, there is no impediment in our mind. If we think that there is something, and our mind becomes attached to it, then we must understand that we are getting confused by the mirage once again, and became part of it. That is wrong, because the impeded mind invites fear. For example, if we made a lot of money, we would worry about how to keep it. This itself is already an impediment. In fact, once we understand the truth, we would say, what is money? It is nothing but an illusory mirage. Then there will be no fear and no worry about it. Of course, we would still secure the money, but we are no longer attached to it. We will know then that the money is good, since we can use it to help people to have a better life. But life without it is fine too. We can earn it later. Once we attain Buddhahood, money is illusory to us, like bubbles. Is there anything to gain or lose? Nothing at all. Because there is no impediment, we are no longer afraid, and we leave distorted dream thinking far behind. What does distorted dream thinking mean? This society, this universe, and this world projected from our mind is a mirage. All variations of this mirage are so-called distorted dream thinking. Just think about it. We seem to enjoy happiness living in this mirage, but this happiness turns out to be unhappiness when it comes to a certain stage. Why? It changes. What are the characteristics of these changes? It will surely go from one extreme to the other. For example, it will become coldest in one extreme of winter, and then gradually warm up. When it's hottest and the other extreme, it will gradually cool down. This is the character of seasonal change. The same rule applies to the 6 realms of samsara, and how the turbidity and evilness reach its extreme till it triggers the mind towards self-reflection and transcendence. The trigger of such a mind then leads to ascending. When it ascends to heaven, it's the other extreme, when hedonism and ignorance starts again, following with evil deeds. With one evil thought in the mind, descending is initiated. This is the character of the changes in the 6 realms, going from one extreme to the other. In the course of changing, we are restrained by the changes. Therefore, we believe the various forms of changes are laws, and it is necessary to research them. For example, this world has yin and yang, the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, and the 8 diagrams. We feel as though they are the truth. What are these indeed? They are illusions. We take them as the truth, but actually they are not. They are simply illusions projected from our mind. If we get confused in the process of changing, we would be forever changing from extremely good, slowly and gradually, to extremely bad. Most of the time, we are moving in between, where the good and the bad are mixed together. But we don't feel comfortable. In winter, for example, we have to turn on the heater and wear thick clothes. While in summer, we have to use the air conditioner and eat popsicles. Otherwise, we may not feel well. So, we are suffering from these changes all the time. In other words, we think that we could benefit from these mirages, just like when we win a big prize in a lottery. We are very happy. We may cry soon also. As we get more money, we will start a rich life. By eating too much meat, we could get unhealthy, or even worse. If we were robbed, joy would turn to sorrow. There are too many changes in this world. If we see clearly, it is understood that there is only suffering and no true happiness in this world. What we think is happiness is often followed by bitterness. That is why Buddha told us anything impermanent must lead to bitterness, not true happiness. This is the way it is. Hence, when we truly separate ourselves from this world's illusory mirage, from the 6 roots and 6 objects of sense, our mind is free of impediment, fears, and distorted dream thinking. We escape the mirage completely. This is called ultimate nirvana.
Sutra. All Buddhas of the 3 periods of time attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi through reliance on Prajnaparamita. Interpretation. How can people become Buddhas in the past, present, and future? Through reliance on wisdom, specifically prajna wisdom, we can attain the supreme enlightenment. This is the most fundamental point that Buddhism teaches us. In the most vivid and simple words, when we separate ourselves from the mirage, or realize by looking closely that nothing exists, this is called liberation. In other words, we are dreaming every day in various forms. One day, we suddenly wake up and still remember those dreams clearly in our mind. But we can't find anything there. Nothing at all. This is when we call it ultimate nirvana, and this is the truth. Among all Buddhas of the 3 periods of time, we are the future Buddhas. In the past, the Buddha attained enlightenment and told us the Dharma and the principle. So now we shall practice with this method and wake up from the dreams. When we awaken in the future, we'll also arouse others. We can't watch someone snoring loudly in their sleep while gloating over them. That is not right. Sutra. Therefore, note that Prajnaparamita is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, an unequaled mantra. It can remove all suffering. It is genuine and not false. Interpretation. It tells us that this is the only way of liberation, the most fundamental, yet ultimate solution. There are no better ways. Other ways cannot lead us to liberation. Whatever method applied, eventually we will come to this stage to achieve liberation. Therefore, this is the most fundamental method of liberation, the only way. Once we get liberated by practicing wisdom of prajna, we will be free from all sufferings. What is suffering? Suffering is anything involved with birth, death, and changes. Suffering is any kind of insobriety, being in the dreamland, controlled by dream and karma, as well as inescapable fate. Once you get rid of fate, karma, samsara, dream, and mirage, you will be free. At that point, you achieve what is called genuine and not false. We shouldn't think the life we are living in every day is true and real. It is not. In this illusion, we feel that life is real. But once we truly understand it and jump out of it, we will realize that it is all mirage, fake, and delusion. After getting out of the delusion, we will realize that being returned to the true heart is what is truly genuine.
Sutra. That is why the mantra of Prajnaparamita was spoken. Recite it like this. Gati gati parakati parasamgati bodhisavaha. Interpretation. The way to liberation is the greatest mystery and the greatest secret of the universe. It is impossible for us to understand it with only one word or one sentence. It is where the greatest secret lies. Such a supreme, true, and fundamental law does exist. The Buddha perceives it, constantly preaches, imparts, educates, and influences us. There are also countless bodhisattvas and dharma protectors supporting this true and fundamental dharma. working to spread it ceaselessly and constantly, and enlightening people who are living in their illusions. This is the concept of the Heart Sutra. Although it is very simple, it is the heart of the Buddha Dharma, and also the most fundamental and ultimate part. We have studied and practiced Buddha Dharma. Therefore, we should not be doing things like grinding the brick to make a mirror, which is useless and a waste of time. We should start with the fundamentals of Buddha Dharma. What is the goal of cultivation? It is to liberate us from attachments and to untie bondage. Little by little, remove the obstacles covering our inner wisdom, and slowly peel off from the heart. Once we reach our original mind, the heart shines, and true wisdom reveals itself. Then we have made achievements through cultivation. These are the principles that we are talking about. Every day we practice, study, and do good. It requires a lot of effort. However, we must understand that these are still illusions and processes that help us gradually awaken from the dreamlands. Don't take these as the ultimate or as the root, for it is a huge mistake. We practice and edify in this way every day, gradually enlighten our minds with the light of the Buddha, and slowly study and understand the principles. In addition, we need to put what we have learned into practice, transform ourselves, wear down our personality, and eliminate our habits and temperament. Everything we do via these tasks is to help us awaken from our dreams and get out of this big, encompassing, and worldly mirage. This is what we must achieve. If we cultivate well, in accordance with the requirements of the Pure Land Dharma, complete 3 blessings of the pure karma, including good roots, blessed virtues, and causes and conditions, we will be able to be reborn in the Western Pure Land when we die. Regardless of whether we have awakened from the dreams at the Western Pure Land, we will continue to awaken from the dreams, move toward liberation, and eventually return to our true nature. This is the benefit of the Pure Land Dharma. If there is no Pure Land Dharma, it would not be easy for us to awaken by ourselves in this world. The big mirage. Even if we wanted to leave, it most likely won't happen. Why? The mirage is too big, sophisticated, and attractive. Even if we think we have escaped, we might have just stepped into another scene. It's all illusory and fake. That is why the Buddha taught us that in this Dharma ending age, the way of being saved is chanting the Buddha's name. This is the principle. From the perspective of sentient beings, we must remember one principle: liberation. Everything we do is for liberation. The only goal is liberation. We must understand this principle. Buddhism is too complicated and profound. There is too much in Buddhism, and too much we need to do. We might get stuck in some of the processes, concepts, or methods, and we could become attached to some goals and end up not being able to get out. All of these are wrong. We must remember that our goal is to free ourselves, which is the only goal that everything should serve. It's been elaborated in the first chapter of the book. Interpretation of Rostrum Sutra. Chan Buddhism holds tight to one principle, which is liberation. If what people did led to liberation in the end, Chan patriarchs would speak highly of them and praise them. If they did not reach liberation, or their goal was not liberation, or they were obsessed with other goals, Chan patriarchs would not hesitate to criticize them to their face and knock it down directly. Just like Emperor Ru of the Liang dynasty had done quite a lot of deeds in Buddhism, but none of those were aimed for liberation. Patriarch Bodhidharma concluded without hesitation, "There is no merit at all." All the following Chan patriarchs applied the same principle. Is it good to do many things in the process? Yes, it seems good. However, it's not the key point. The key point is and should only be liberation. We must understand this and hold tight to this goal. From the perspective of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, their goal is to free sentient beings, and this is what they do. They do countless deeds to nurture beings. What is the goal of all these deeds? The goal is also to liberate beings. The goal is not for merit, for any processes in the middle, or for this or that otherwise. No, not at all. Liberation is the ultimate goal. Since Shakyamuni Buddha began his teachings until now, fewer and fewer people attained liberation. This was indicated by Shakyamuni Buddha in the Sutra. Why? Because most people have probably forgotten this goal. People are lost in their methods and practices or the distractions of this world. They may have done all sorts of deeds, and they may have undergone hardships and difficulties, but their goal is wrong, and the ultimate goal has been forgotten. What's the purpose of what we do now? Is to re-establish this ultimate goal. All the deeds that we do are very complicated and will become more and more complicated. There's going to be more and more deeds to do, but we should be clear about our goal. That is liberation. We temper ourselves toward liberation in the end. This is the only goal.